You may be able to ban it from your house, but you won't be able to ban it from your kids' lives. Those are two very different things. And confusing them is the most common mistake I see. There are two ways to fail at AI: the lockdown parent and the free rein parent. And be honest, you're probably one of them. I need to remind you that the ostrich that buries its head in the sand doesn't survive, it just doesn't see the thing that gets it in the end. Welcome back, I'm Avital, and last video I scared you a little bit. On purpose, because I do want to be very realistic and honest about the dangers of AI and of the companies that are building these technologies. We've all been burnt in the past by what happened with social media and children, and I want to be part of not repeating that mistake again. But in this video, I'm taking part of it back. Not the facts, but the fear. Because operating from fear can make us parents do dumb things. And sometimes the dumbest thing we do is nothing. It's just burying our head in the sand and hoping that the whole thing will go away. Here is the fantasy, and I hear it from my students all the time. Not in my house, we just don't do AI. My kids will just never be on it. And I love that energy, and it will work for a time. I'm not here to tell you have to get your kids on AI right now. I really won't. In fact, if you can wait it out and delay, then I think that's a great thing. Just as I'm trying to wait out and delay social media use or smartphones in general. However, I think we would be really unrealistic to think that we can just ban it forever. Most of us, even if our kids aren't allowed social media accounts, they find ways to gain access. It might not be in your home or under your roof or under your nose, and you might not even know that it's happening. And in a world that's increasingly using AI, banning it becomes a little bit like not allowing kids on the internet at all 10 years ago. It's just, in most cases, unrealistic. When it comes to most technological developments, most of us are getting it wrong in one of these two ways, for better or for worse. The first is the lockdown parent. And I am this parent in many ways. I use parental controls, I delay smartphones, I have very stringent screen time rules. I'm a tyrant about social media. Lockdown parents say door bolted, no AI, end of discussion. I've had parents in my community saying that they just want to hide their kids away or throw all the laptops in the ocean or move off the grid and live in a shack in the forest completely off the grid. And I get that instinct, I really do. But here's what usually happens with new, exciting, and world-changing technologies. Your kid meets it anyway. At a friend's, on a school laptop, on a phone you don't know about, slipping by your parental guidelines, or outright sneaking it against your rules. Technologies are really powerful and seductive. And the problem with that is that now they meet it raw, with zero guidance and with every reason to hide it from you. They know they've done something wrong, and so now they want to cover it up. And they're basically alone facing this new technology. So in many cases, we didn't really prevent a thing. We as parents just guaranteed that we weren't in the room for it. We weren't part of the process. And we had no say in the guardrails. The data is pretty clear that at the moment of recording this, 64% of teenagers already use AI. So chances are that yours is one of them. But you just don't know what they're doing in there. What questions are they asking? And worse, what answers are they getting? When your children are very young, you certainly don't need to expose them to AI. But as they move into later childhood, and certainly into tweens and then teens, exposure to this technology becomes almost inevitable in most cases. Until many parents swing in the opposite direction, and they decide to be the free rein parent. They say, it's a new generation, they're digital natives, they've got it. These parents think it's inevitable anyway, it's endlessly convenient, and it keeps my kids quiet for 20 minutes when I really need that. We've all done a version of this. Against our better judgment, a show that we didn't quite like, or yet another round of autoplay on Netflix because we were busy, distracted, in survival mode, and we just needed a digital babysitter. Many of us justify to ourselves that these things are made for children as well. That our kids aren't going to put themselves in a tricky situation or get addicted or upload the wrong photos online. These technologies can be just as seductive for us as parents as they are for our children. Because they give us a break, because they tutor the kid for free, because they entertain them when we need it most, or because they answer questions that we frankly have no idea how to answer. And remember when we discussed that dependency, that kids are using AI as a companion, as a friend, instead of a therapist, instead of a parent or a teacher? Those are the exact homes that this issue comes from, because many of us parents are just unlocking access willy-nilly. So yes, we gave them access, but it doesn't mean we've taught them anything. They're meeting a brain-changing, development-altering technology, completely raw, with no parental supervision, guidelines, or even help. Both of these extremes, completely locking the AI away behind bolt and key, or just unlocking complete free access for our children, they're both kind of the same move, just in different outfits. Because both are abdication of our parental role. One is pretending that the world isn't coming, and therefore not preparing our children for it, not being in the room and part of the conversation as they adopt this new technology. And the other is opening the door and walking away, pretending again that our children don't need parental guidance and help with this massive sea change in the world. Now, whilst I'm not pushing you to adopt AI or introduce your child to AI, I am stating that it's probably inevitable and it might even be beneficial, because this is the direction of travel of the world. And if you think about it, there was moral panic when the printing press came around. People were worried that children who learn to read books won't retain information off by heart anymore. The whole oral tradition of passing on information father to son will be lost. And they were right. But today we hold literacy as a key marker of a good education. So technological development itself changes what is expected of an educated population. And AI is definitely going to do that to schooling. Everything I grew up on in school, like doing homework, writing essays, giving in tests, those are going to be challenged and redesigned as AI makes many of our current skills irrelevant. A world with AI is becoming the water that they swim in. And it is possible that the kid who can think with the AI and use the AI will actually pull away from the kid who can't, the exact way a kid who could read would pull away from the kid who couldn't. It's entirely possible that this will become the literacy of their century. So maybe opting our children out inevitably is not protection, but a handicap that we're choosing for them. It's entirely possible that both the kids who never get exposure to AI and the kids who get completely open, raw, unfiltered exposure to AI will both be harmed by this technology. But the children who are taught to use AI in responsible and thoughtful ways may be able to get ahead of the massive revolution that this technology is going to bring. So if it's not lockdown and it's not free reign, then what is it? It's the third thing, the hard thing. The one nobody sells you because it doesn't fit on a parental control setting page. And because frankly, it's not always in the best interest of the AI behemoths. It's children who are raised with digital awareness, digital savvy, digital guardrails. Children who are taught how to engage their own critical thinking as they use AI to advance their own development. It's you in the room doing the oldest job there is and walking your kid through the steps instead of pretending it isn't there. I believe that a parent's job was never to keep the world away from their child. It's to raise a self-sufficient adult, whatever that happens to mean in this particular generation. And AI is just the newest, strangest part of the world. So let's raise our kids for it. And that means we have to actually dissect what we're raising them toward. How do we raise a great person in the age of AI? That's the real question, and the one we're going to begin to answer next. Now, yes, we are going to address all of the scariest sides of AI. The fact that it might completely displace millions of jobs, the fact that it will completely change our economy, the fact that it might replace our children's thinking and leave them dumber than before, the fact that it is kind of like the new relationship that our children are taking on, and that we as parents who grew up in an entirely different world may not be equipped, may not even really fully understand or grasp the sea change that is about to come in the world. But I want you to hold on to this very important truth. Children need to grow up with adults that believe in them and their future. They need you to form a positive opinion about the time that they live in. They need you to hold on to hope, to be pragmatic, to be practical, to be realistic, yes, and to be honest about the downsides, but also to be optimistic. To be cautiously optimistic, perhaps, but to provide them with a sense that they are moving towards a bright future. I think we actually owe it to our children to craft a cheery, sunny, upbeat outlook on the world that is coming down the pipeline. We've seen this in other areas where certain movements create doom, create gloom, create a scare amongst the younger generation, and lead to a sense of helplessness and, God forbid, hopelessness in young people, where they feel like they should quiet quit, they should just give up, they shouldn't even try, they should opt out of society. We've seen this with marriage. We've seen this with ecology. We've seen this with global warming. We've seen this with parenthood, that there's just been a decline and a failure to launch because people feel so negative and nihilistic about their worlds. Now, even if AI is just as bad as everybody says it is, even if it ends up destroying the planet, it's still better, in the meantime, for our children to grow up with a certain optimism about the future. It's still better for us to find the enthusiasm, the silver lining, the positive sides, the pros, the opportunities that are very real and very alive for our children in this era. It is not great for us to wax nostalgic about the good old days where you could get a job, about the fact that college degrees used to actually mean something, about the fact that the economy used to be strong enough to live on one income, because that just creates a lot of fear and anxiety and even depression in our children, where they feel like they were born in the wrong era, like their time is against them, like the world is worse today than it was when we were coming up. And that's no way to grow up. It creates a sense of giving up before you've even tried. It creates an internal sense of doom. And we want our children to grab life by the horns, to take the opportunities that are available to them. And the truth is that in every revolution, in every massive change, in every transformation the world has been through, in every technological innovation, there have been victims of that change for sure, and there will be this time too. There may be mass destruction, there may be mass suffering. That's real, it's possible. And there are also victors. There are people who make millions of dollars based on that innovation. There are people who start entire new industries. There are people who adapt and people who find opportunity. As the saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. So you and I, in the best interest of our children, shouldn't let this crisis, if it is one, go to waste. We should bolster them up, stiffen their spine, broaden their shoulders, keep that bright light in their eyes and a broad smile on their face as they look towards their future. And that means that you and I are going to have to get on board with AI one way or another. Yes, we're going to do so with guardrails and with guidance. I'm not saying just throw your kids to the wolves, but I am saying that we're going to have to find a way to love the times that we're living in and to let our children enjoy their life and not constantly hark back to some romanticized notion of the 50s or of the 90s, because they live now and that's not good for them. To always be looking back towards a better time is not good for anyone. We want them to have excitement about their future. And so I hope that this mini-series is going to help you to gain some excitement about the future, because the truth is that AI can unlock tremendous potential for our children. Yes, there are all the downsides that we'll cover, and they're real. But if we offset those costs, if we're careful, and if they don't have to pay too steep a price, and I'm going to show you exactly the types of things we can do to protect them from those prices, then they stand to gain tremendously. The threshold to starting a business, to creating music, to creating art or writing has never been lower. Today, a child, like a 15-year-old, can start and run a business with best-in-class marketing, coding, branding, design, engineering for next to no money and almost instantly. That level of opportunity, yes, it's disruptive on every level. Yes, it's displacing jobs left and right, but also how exciting, how much opportunity, something for our children to learn and aspire and grow into. Many of us are just naturally inclined to be suspicious and skeptical of change, or to be a little bit suspicious and skeptical of technology in general. And that's natural and it makes sense. And I get it. I like a book more than I like a Kindle. I want my kids to play real board games and not just video games. We take tech-free time all the time. And we have rules against phones at the dinner table or phones in the bedroom. I really do understand it. And I think we need to embrace technology. We need to be, not technophobic, but technophilic and show our children that, okay, we can master this. We can harness this. Now, full disclosure, just to share my biases, is that I come from a family of early adopters. Yes, they're tech founders. Yes, my grandfather was the first person in the UK to have a microwave. And my grandmother, at 103, God bless her, is using things like Facebook, Instagram, and Photoshop. Okay, we are not afraid of adopting and learning new technologies. And still, I completely empathize with the parent who wants to hide under a rock. But think about your child and their future. What's best for them? And that's the spirit that we're going to address this with.